As you can see by now, we are living in very difficult times. And I'm sure you see the news and you're wondering what's really going on. And for some of you who are intending to immigrate to Canada, you might have questions. And if you do not already know, you may be wondering, what is life really like for a Black, brown, or Indigenous person in Canada? Well, in this video, I will be sharing my own personal experiences with you. So let's talk about being Black in Canada. Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time of being here, you're welcome. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button and also the bell button so that you get notified whenever I post a brand new video. Without taking any more time, let's just dive straight into this video. If you're asking, is there racism in Canada? Because I do not see Canadians being as aggressive as the Americans in this subject. The short answer to that question is yes, there is racism in Canada. So let me say this. Canadians are generally nice people, and they also carry this niceness in their being racist or discriminatory. So in Canada, racism is almost like a gift. It's nicely packaged and handed over to you, like somebody would say, with a smile and a thank you. So it's very subtle, you know. It's in the microaggression, like you look like a Black white girl, or you are smart for an African, or you speak well. Did you really live in Africa? Or say, wow, your English is so good. Where did you learn English? So it's in all of that, and it comes off as really subtle, right? So if you're not conscious, you probably wouldn't catch it. These are the situations that Black people mostly find themselves in. The racism or anti-Black racism is in our system in form of institutionalized racism. It's in the justice system, in the financial system, in the healthcare system. The racial disparity in the healthcare system is so wide, and it even reflects in how we receive care. Take for example, when I was 3 months pregnant with Kofi, I was in a car accident, and I was rushed to emergency, and I was admitted in, and I had to wait in the waiting area. I was in pain, I was scared, I was crying, I was jittery, I was so worried, you know, I wasn't sure if Kofi was okay, and I just wanted someone to talk to me, to check me out. But guess what? I waited for 5 hours because I wasn't rolling on the floor or screaming or bleeding or anything. And you know, even after waiting for 5 hours, they still did not attend to me. I had to go to the nurse's station and yelled at them. I was like, do you guys want me to die here before you attend to me? Before that accident, when I just found out I was pregnant, I had a situation where I bled and I was freaking out. I thought maybe, you know, I lost Kofi, and I got rushed to the emergency room, and the doctor told me flat out that, oh, he thinks this could be a miscarriage. He said it to me without any kind of feelings whatsoever. Said that to me, gave me the paper, and walked away. I cried that day, not because of even what he told me, but because of how he said it to me, like I was nothing. And you know what? I do everything possible to take care of my health so that I have no reason to go to the hospital. So our institutions have a lot of work to do if we're going to be making a change. In Canada, Black people are not only discriminated against by white people. The South and the East Asians discriminate against us. Everybody discriminates against us. So how can we bridge the gap in racial inequality when we're not even properly represented in the government in the first place? Now let me share some of my experiences with you. Only over a week ago, I was at the beauty supply store where I buy my natural hair products. This store is owned by the Chinese. I buy my natural hair products. I leave the store. I get in the car. I was about to put my receipt in my purse, and then I realized that I was charged for something that I did not buy, and this was worth over $10. I called. They said they were going to check the cameras. Like, check the cameras? You check the cameras when you suspect that someone steals something. Anyways, I go back into the store, and I was treated like they were suspecting me of taking something, like I stole something. But guess what? I had to set them straight, and that's what you should do. Whenever you find yourself in a similar situation, you should know what is inappropriate. And it's not your job to educate people who are ignorant, but it's your job to set them straight. It's not okay for you to treat people with so much disregard. If I come here and I'm spending my money here, you should have at least some level of respect for me. But then again, they want your money, but they don't want you. And that's why you find in the stores that our black girls are on the floor helping customers get what they need. But guess who's on the counter? They're on the counter collecting the money because they trust us to do our job, because we need that minimum pay, but they don't trust us to take the money. So we need to have our own businesses. So I spoke to them and they apologized, but I know that meant nothing because that's how they treat us here in Canada. So do not be surprised if you're being discriminated against by people that you don't even expect. But what you should do is know how to set them straight. And if in your case it's maybe in your workspace, because I mean the corporate industry is predominantly white, if you find that someone is being inappropriate to you and you let them know that that is not acceptable, if they choose not to be reasonable, I'm hoping that your company has a discrimination, clause or protocol that you can follow and see that those people are relieved of their duty. Do not worry about being responsible for someone losing their job, because trust me, unfortunately, they will find another job thanks to privilege. But I'm hoping going forward, those people will learn their lessons. Let me tell you about one time I was looking for a place to rent. I had spent a couple months looking for a place to rent. I had become so frustrated that it was beginning to occur to me that it was probably because I'm black. And that's another thing with Canada. Nobody's going to tell you why they're refusing you a job or a place to rent, or refusing you admittance into daycare for your child. Nobody's going to tell you that that's the reason just because you're black. So it was slowly occurring to me that, maybe this is real. Maybe I'm just in denial. And so I used my friend who has a strong British accent to make a call for a place I had seen on Kijiji. Unfortunately, when she called, the person was not available to take the call, but she left a message. By the time the person called back, my friend had left. So I answered the call and she said, "Oh, you called about this place. Are you still interested?" And I said, "Yes." And she began to ask questions like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Nigeria." "How long have you been in Canada?" I told her about a year and whatnot. She asked me all these questions. I did not realize that at that point I was being profiled. Next thing she says is, "Oh, sorry, the place is no longer available." And I was in shock. Like, how did we go from "Are you still interested in the place" to "It's no longer available"? And I was like, what just happened? This just happened to me. And that's why in my How to Rent in Toronto video, I mentioned that looking for rent in Toronto has to be seen as a full-time job, because it's not as straightforward as I see a place, I like it, I pay for it. No. If you do not fit in the profile of the person that they want to be in that rental, you don't get it. It doesn't matter if you have the money to pay for first and last month's rent, or if your credit score is at 700. No. If they don't like you, They don't want you there, and that's that. And they will not tell you why. I remember we made a few applications that were refused, and I called one office because I was curious. I was like, is there a reason why our application was refused? Because everything looked good, even up until the point we submitted everything. We qualified for that place. And guess what they told me? No, management did not give a reason. Wow. Now that bothered me. And when we went forward looking for places, even when coming to view this place, I dressed up so well. Even when I'm not in the mood to wear makeup, I would wear makeup when I'm going for a viewing. I would speak very slowly and very posh because I wanted to fit in the profile of the person that they're looking for. If you are at least black, they want you to be bougie. And I hate using that word. But yes, I had to put up that show because I knew the system I was dealing with. And how about the time when a Toronto Transit bus driver, opened the door, insulted me, closed the door, and drove off? That bothered me for a long time. If you're thinking about immigrating to Canada, you have to consciously think about these things, because if you forget that you're black and you live in denial, the system has a way of reminding you of who you really are. Now we've talked about the racial issues in Canada, even in the police system. There was a time last year on the news, I saw a story about a police officer who was physically assaulting was he a 10 or 11 or 12-year-old boy? This boy was not up to 15, right? And that was very hard for me to watch. So imagine my child, who is even a minor, having to see that in the news. How do we go forward from here? One, we have to keep the conversation going. We cannot get angry for a while and then move on and continue, business as usual. Things have to change from here. Let's do whatever we can in our own small spaces to start making the changes that we want to see. If you have white friends, you should be having these conversations with them. And if they feel uncomfortable, then that's good, because that's what the conversation is supposed to do. Shift you, make you have a change mentally and in your actions. The second thing that we need to do moving forward is to raise our children differently. We will need to educate them differently. It's going to be a lot of cultural change if, for example, your children are immigrating with you from Africa to Canada. But it's very important that you teach them on racial issues. So you have to let them know, because you're immersing them in a culture, in a system where, the odds are stacked against them. I was a teacher for the after-school program for the school board here in Toronto, where I was teaching African heritage. In one of my classes, I met this girl from Nigeria. I think she was about 7 years old or 6 years old. And I asked her what her name was, and she said, a Daisy. And I'm like, okay, a Daisy. In my mind, it didn't sound right, but I'm like, okay, if that's your name. It was my first time in the class, so I was still getting to know them. And by the time I asked for their books, I saw her name was actually Adaeze, an Igbo name in Nigeria given to the first daughters. So I'm like, oh, Adaeze. And then she said, no, my name is not Adaeze, my name is Adaeze. And I'm like, yes, it's the Igbo name. You're Igbo, right? She said, yes. And then I said, yes, it's Adaeze. Would you believe that this girl snapped at me and told me not to call her that, and told me that her name was Adaeze? And so I respected that, and I said, okay, Adaeze. And by the time we were going further in the class, everything this girl told me about Africa was horrible, was so bad. And I had to ask, who taught you that? Guess what she said? She said it was her dad. That was very hard for me as a teacher, because if the job is not done properly at home, it makes my job 2 times harder. So we'll need to educate our children differently. So speaking of education, I do have a book here for Black kids. It's called My Sleeping Dream: How I Learned My Numbers. This book is written by a Black author, not just any author. She's my sister, and I'm really proud of her for this wonderful piece that she has made for our Black kids. And it's her first book. She's an author. She's been writing papers because, you know, she's doing her PhD. However, this is her first published children's book, and there's more to come. I really want to congratulate her and say well done to her, because this is someone that has been homeschooling her child for a couple years now, and she knows the difference, and she can see the importance of having a proper representation of our kids even in the books. And this is something that we are lacking. How many of your Black kids actually have, you know, toys and books where they see like themselves represented? These are the things that we need to change. So congratulations, my sister, and well done. I'm looking forward to more of your successes. Now, the third way we need to start moving forward is for us to start healing from the mental slavery that we're still suffering. There is a lot of trauma in our Black community, and we need to continue to support each other physically, mentally, spiritually. Black women, protect the mental space of your Black men. They need it. Black men, protect your Black women. Our single Black mothers are going through so much. Our single Black fathers, our Black boys, our Black youths, they constantly live in great fear. They are suffering from a failed justice system. Our Black men and women wrongfully incarcerated. Your experience may have been such that you've had a policeman actually chit-chat with you and crack jokes and smile and walk away. That's good, but it doesn't mean the brutalities are not happening. So we have to protect them. The fourth way we can move forward is supporting our Black-owned businesses. We will need to build wealth so that we'll have something to leave for our children. Because being Black is hard, but being Black and poor is much harder. The odds are stacked against us as Black people. The least we can do is to give our children at least a decent start at life. If you have a Black-owned business, I want to support you. Please reach out to me. And we have to also change the way we do business in our community. We will have to learn to pour so much love in our businesses, because it's not that we cannot run a business. It's just that we have to change how we do it. We have to love each other. We have to learn to come together. And that's why it is important that we unlearn the lies that we have been taught and relearn the good things, the truth that we have unlearned. And finally, how do we move forward? If you are in an interracial relationship, you will need to start having those difficult conversations. You know, those ones that you are apprehensive about, that you guys are working on tippy-toe about. You know, your husband is, you know, white, you're Black, and you're very sensitive. You don't want to talk about those issues because you don't want to step on anybody's toes. Well, news flash. The world is going through a shift. And you need to start talking. Even if you don't want to talk because you think that you're adults and you understand each other, you have to start talking if you have kids. Start talking because of your mixed babies. One Black parent and one white parent does not make a child white. So you have to start thinking of when to start having those conversations with your child. Like, see, you look like this, but it doesn't make you white, so the police will still see you this way. And if they see you, they will not be confused as to whether you're white or you're Black. So you better start talking, because this is a serious conversation, seeing the times that we're in. This is a real life situation that you need to take as seriously as you take anything else. The world is going through a shift, and your spouse will have to take a stand. So you better get talking so that you know where this person is standing. So please guys, speak out in any way that you can. And it's okay if you're referred to as the angry black woman. They are killing us. Why shouldn't we be angry? It's not today they've been calling us angry and black, or associating us and blackness to anything that is not good. So either way, let's keep talking because a change must come. Now to end this video, I'd like to share you something that I wrote and I have been saying to myself. It is not a crime to be black. Black is beautiful. I am a powerful, gorgeous black woman. My blackness is not a threat to your life. My blackness does not make me a thief. My blackness is not a weapon. I am an actual person, a real human being. I am just black. And that is not a crime.